In this video, we'll be taking a look at Darth Sidious for the Clone Wars animated line. So this is an action figure that unfortunately a lot of collectors missed out on back around 2010 or so when he was released. He was released in the same wave as Commander Stone, and there's I think a Hoth, or not a Hoth character, but Cold Weather Gear, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. Characters along those lines. A lot of Season 2 and towards the end of Season 1 characters. And that whole wave in general was highly overlooked. I don't think it got enough distribution, so unfortunately it suffered in the market. And Darth Sidious here could arguably be the most expensive Clone Wars animated action figure that we have to date. Maybe Commander Cole and the other ARC Troopers might be even more, but this one's definitely up there. So I think it's a pretty neat action figure. I actually won this on a bid on eBay a couple years ago, maybe about 3 years ago now at this point, and I actually got it for a halfway decent price, and it's a little bit more on the pricey side, but given the circumstances with it, I was okay with it. And after having it in hand, I'm glad I have it. I think it's one of the best Clone Wars animated action figures that Hasbro made. There's a lot of hidden details about this that I'm surprised Hasbro ended up doing. I kind of wish they made a regular Chancellor Palpatine for the Clone Wars line. This is as close as going to get. But they pretty much had all the materials with this action figure. All they had to do was maybe repaint it, add some different robes, and finish his head. But alas, unfortunately, we did not get Chancellor Palpatine, so Darth Sidious is as close as it will be. So let's just go ahead and take a closer look at this figure. So the amount of detail that I'm impressed most with this is actually in the head. I don't know if you could really see too well in there, but Hasbro actually sculpted most of his face with his eyes and everything to go along with it. But I don't think you can really take his hood off. At least I've never attempted to. I think it's just part of his head, and it's all one piece. So that's all we've really gotten of Palpatine's face from the animated line. But it looks really good for what they did. It's that interesting chin on him. A lot of detail there. And another thing I like that they did was how they did his robes. I think they flow really nicely. He is a very skinny action figure, as you can see. And I think that's kind of neat because it definitely distinguishes between an animated figure and the real thing. He's pretty much all in black paint. He does have a gray belt there and gray armbands there, or gray on his arm robes. I would assume you could take his robe off here if you take his head off, but I'm not going to take his head off. Might would have to boil that a little bit or heat it up just to pry it off, and I don't really want to get into that. Has very rectangular feet as well. Thankfully he fits well on a stand. I think he stands pretty good on his own too. Yeah. So even if you don't have a stand for him, he's not too bad on his own. In terms of the articulation, he does have a joint at the head, but his hood's kind of restricted, so you can get a little side-to-side motion. That's about it. He does have hinged shoulders, hinged elbows, swivel wrist, and that's pretty much it. nothing in the waist and nothing in the legs at all, not even in the hips. So he's pretty much a statue from the waist down. But it's alright. You could pretty much get him in all the poses you could want him in. And I think this particular Darth Sidious is kind of based off of the initial scenes in Season 2 where he's working out a deal with Cad Bane to steal the hologron. Those episodes always stood out to me, thought they were really neat. This isn't really based on his more dynamic scenes where he duels Darth Maul and Savage, or I should say Maul at this point. In terms of weapons and accessories, he has his signature lightsaber, which is pretty much the same exact thing that we've gotten with all the other Darth Sidious figures. And he also has these lightning effects, which is really nice that Hasbro included that, and I really like how they did this. So he just put it around his wrist there, and I think that's really creative how Hasbro did that. And I think it turned out really nice. Looks great on display. Yeah, going back to the hood, I think they did a nice job with, if you really want to see all his features on his face, you can, but at the same time, most of his face is concealed by his hood there. Which looks really nice. Kind of looks like the Grim Reaper a little bit. Do a quick comparison here. Here's the TVC Darth Sidious from the Phantom Menace. I figure that's about his closest counterpart for the realistic style. And they look really good together. Well, that's pretty much all I can tell you about the Clone Wars Darth Sidious. It's pretty basic for what it is. It's interesting that it's become one of the hardest to find Clone Wars action figures. I will say, oftentimes, even though I won this on a bid on eBay, there's times I get on eBay and I don't even see any for sale at all. Or if there is one, it's like a brand new one and it's buy it now for an outrageous price that nobody would ever pay for it. But just keep an eye out. You never know, you might find one if you want one for your collection. I would highly recommend them if you're willing to pay the price for him, or if you have any interest for him in your collection. I mean, he is the orchestrator of the entire Clone Wars, so it makes sense for him to be in your collection, especially if you have the Clone Wars animated line. Unfortunately, I don't think Hasbro will ever re-release any of the animated action figures. I wish they would, as like a greatest hits line or something like that. I don't foresee it. With that being said, I'll go ahead and conclude this video then. So I hope you enjoyed it, and taking a closer look at Darth Sidious. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will be lots more to come. And if you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. And check out the links in the description as well. Thanks for watching.